It began in a dream of a large, loving family living together in peace, a dream that would one day be shared by millions of individuals all over the globe. Kody Brown, a man strong in his conviction in plural marriage, was convinced that he could prove that love could expand, increase, and flourish under one roof. Throughout his lifetime, he had four wives: Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robin. They created one of the country's most recognized plural families in America, having 18 children and starring in TLC's popular reality show Sister Wives. To many audiences, the Browns were not just a family, they were an experiment, a real-life illustration of how plural marriage might be possible in contemporary times. To some, they were inspirational. To others, confusing, even controversial. But they were always entertaining, whatever you thought of them. When Sister Wives debuted in 2010, viewers were intrigued. Here was a family who were prepared to open their front doors and introduce the world to a way of life that most people only heard rumors of. The early years were full of laughter, camaraderie, and a feeling of togetherness that led us to believe that polygamy, at least in our case, could actually be successful. The wives prepared meals together, raised their children together, celebrated birthdays and holidays together. They were four best friends who happened to share the same husband, or at least, that's what it appeared to outsiders. The Browns even took a risk, and came out openly as a polygamous family. They were staying in Utah then, where their way of life would have subjected them to criminal offenses. Rather than hide, they cut up and relocated to Las Vegas, intent on keeping their family intact and showing the world that love was not an offense. For some time, it seemed like they had found the solution. They purchased 4 houses on one cul-de-sac, one for each of the wives, and for the first time, everyone had his or her own place but was still close to each other as a family. But as the cameras continued to roll, fissures started to emerge. People began noticing glimpses of jealousy, isolation, and fighting. The first wife, Meri, appeared increasingly gloomy. She was an empty nester, and with only a single child, Meri, she frequently felt excluded. Janelle, the second wife, was work-oriented and financially secure, which at times caused her to appear aloof. Christine, the third wife, was the center of the home, raising children, cooking, and attempting to keep the family content. And then there is Robin, the fourth and youngest wife, who arrived with the family in 2010. Robin infused a new vitality into the family. She was sweet, sentimental, and incredibly close to Kody. Their relationship was evident and full-bodied, something that was difficult not to witness for the other wives. As time passed, it became apparent that Kody was investing more of his emotional strength in Robin, and that favoritism was an issue. The other wives attempted to be accepting, but resentment grew silently. The breaking point was years later. Christine, a perennially cheerful and optimistic person, started sharing that she didn't feel loved and wanted any more in her marriage. She opened up on camera about painful realities. She and Kody had no intimacy left in the marriage, and she didn't want to feel like last in line anymore. In November of 2021, Christine surprised the world by revealing that she was walking away from Kody and the plural marriage. She had spent 25 years with him, and packed up her belongings, moved to Utah, and started a brand new life centered on her own happiness. People were shocked, yet many applauded Christine's move. She emerged as a beacon of self-respect and autonomy. Thousands of fans on social media cheered her on, telling her that she had picked peace over pain. Christine herself was beaming with joy, tweeting about her new house, her kids, and later her new partner, David Woolley, whom she eventually married. Christine's departure seemed to set off a chain reaction. Tension between Janelle and Kody reached an all-time high during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Kody's strict rules about quarantining caused major disagreements within the family. Janelle's adult children felt left out and even rejected by Kody, which put her in a difficult position. By the end of 2022, Janelle had also chosen to separate from Kody. Unlike Christine, her split was quieter, but just as final. That left Meri, who for years had been trying to revive her marriage to Kody following a much-publicized online catfishing scandal years before. Kody had confessed during the show that he no longer felt married to Meri, but she had remained, keeping hope alive. In early 2023, Meri revealed that she and Kody had finally dissolved their spiritual marriage, ending a chapter that had spanned over 30 years. And now, only Robin is left. She is the sole surviving wife, the sole survivor who still refers to Kody as husband. But even for Robin, things are not as she envisioned them. She has confessed on the show that she never wanted a monogamous marriage. She was a believer in plural marriage and longed for the sisterhood that it brought. Instead, she is stuck in a smaller, broken version of the dream she had envisioned. Kody also has spoken out about his emotions. He has called himself heartbroken, angry, and sad over losing the large family he worked so hard to keep together. In interviews, he has said he doesn't intend to search for new wives or resume polygamy. For the time being, he is concentrating on his marriage to Robin and attempting to repair some of the damaged relationships with his children. The Brown family children have also struggled. Some of them have been behind their mom's moves out, but others remain near Kody and Robin. The breakups have made the family do everything differently from before. It has not been easy, but some of the children have stated that they are proud of their mothers for sticking up for themselves. Kody Brown and his wife's tale has evolved beyond a mere reality TV storyline. It's become a tale of transformation, growth, and staying power. What began as a quest to let the world see polygamy was full of love, became one of heartbreak, self-discovery, and redemption. For Janelle, Christine, and Meri, leaving was not the end but an opportunity to begin again. For Robin and Kody, it was an alarm call to cling to what they still have. In so many ways, the Brown saga has provided audiences with something far more profound than entertainment. They've illustrated just how complicated love and family are, how difficult it is to balance more than one relationship, and just how crucial feeling valued and heard is in a marriage. It's a reminder that no matter how strange the circumstances are, the battles of love, trust, and heartache are universal. And so goes the Brown saga. While the large polygamous family that upended the world is now shattered, its members are yet creating new chapters in their lives. Christine is remarried and flourishing. Janelle is living her own aspirations and autonomy. Meri is finding out who she is beyond the marriage. And Kody and Robin are attempting to find their way through a life that is totally different from the one they thought they were building. Through it all, millions of viewers continue to watch, comment, and connect with their story. Because at its heart, this isn't just about polygamy. It's about love, pain, forgiveness, and the search for happiness, something that everyone can relate to. In the beginning, life for the Browns seemed like a dream come true. Their story sounded like something from an experiment of today. 4 women who willingly loved the same man, not out of obligation, but because they believed in a common life, common faith, and common purpose. Kody stood at the center, the charming man who yearned to show the world that a plural large family could exist. Meri was the initial part of the puzzle, his legal wife, the one who initiated this journey along with him. She had been with Kody from the very start, filled with hope and anticipation of creating a family that lived life beyond conventional boundaries. Next was Janelle, who introduced a new element into the family, practical, diligent, and independent. Christine soon followed, the third wife, to become the heart and soul of the home, tending to many of the children and keeping the family afloat in times of both joy and adversity. And then there was Robin, the last to enter the scene, whose arrival would alter the course of the family's life forever. She brought with her 3 children from a previous marriage, and the decision to court her made by Kody was even documented on Sister Wives' first season. Viewers were able to see the other wives fight feelings of jealousy and fear, but ultimately accept Robin as one of their own. Her spiritual wedding to Kody was commemorated, and for a while the Browns seemed like a beacon of success for how plural marriage could be respected, collaborative, and loving. When the family encountered legal scrutiny in Utah, they made a dramatic decision. They loaded up and moved to Las Vegas. It wasn't an easy decision. Removing a family of more than 20 members was a huge undertaking, but Kody swore it was worth it in order to keep them all safe. When they got to Vegas, something incredible occurred. They purchased 4 homes on the same cul-de-sac, one for each wife. Each wife had her own place, her own kitchen, her own living room for the first time, and yet, they were still just steps from one another. This was the time when most fans regarded as the golden years of the Brown family. They taped birthday celebrations, family gatherings, and grand events. They shared laughter, tears, and battled through every day's ordeal. The children flourished, becoming close with their brothers and sisters and step-siblings. Viewers witnessed what appeared to be a lovely, chaotic, complicated, yet functional plural family. But even in these golden years, there were occasional glimpses that things weren't quite as rosy. Meri would be off in a corner, seemingly aloof, inwardly suffering the pangs of loneliness of being an empty nester. She had only one daughter, Mariah, whereas the other wives had several children, and that left her feeling a bit on the outside of the never-ending melee of family life. Janelle was busy working often, wanting the family to be financially independent, but her extensive hours away from home sometimes tended to create separation between her and Kody. Christine was the one who attempted to preserve the sibling-like spirit of sisterhood. She adored cooking large family meals, hosting game nights, and ensuring everyone felt connected. However, she also confessed in confessional interviews that jealousy was an ongoing battle for her. Catching a glimpse of Kody with his other wives made her feel insecure at times, and she did not sugarcoat it, and fans loved her even more because of it. Robin, on the other hand, was growing closer to Kody, a closeness that was impossible to ignore. Theirs was a romantic relationship that reminded everyone of a newlywed couple. Although this was lovely in itself, it subtly changed the family structure. All of the other wives confessed they felt like they were in competition for Kody's time, even though plural marriage was meant to be about equality. The tension heightened when Kody formally divorced Meri so that he could formally marry Robin and adopt the 3 children of her previous marriage. Although Meri consented to it, she testified later that the decision shattered her heart. She felt that it was best for the family, but in terms of emotions, it left her feeling like she had lost her position as Kody's first wife. Despite this, the Browns marched on, showing the world a single front. They let everyone know and reminded themselves that polygamy wasn't about rivalry, it was about religion, devotion, and building a family greater than themselves. But secretly, those tiny fissures were becoming increasingly difficult to overlook. As the months passed, those cracks widened into open sores. Communication was strained, jealousy became more apparent, and arguments over parenting, finances, and time began to be a priority. The Browns had always taken credit for being active family meeting leaders, sitting down and discussing issues openly, but now their meetings usually ended in frustration or tears. Fans who had once admired their unity began to notice that one wife always seemed to be at odds with Kody at any given time. Some episodes focused on Meri's sadness, others on Janelle's struggles to feel heard, and still others on Christine's growing unhappiness. Through it all, Robin and Kody seemed to get closer, which only highlighted the distance between him and the other wives. The relocation to Flagstaff, Arizona, was to be a new beginning, an opportunity to stake out a plot of land upon which they might eventually build 4 houses and reunite as a cohesive family. But rather than mending the rifts, the relocation worsened them. The wives were farther apart than ever, in individual rentals strung throughout town, and the physical and emotional space between them expanded. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, the family was more stressed than ever before. Kody created strict rules to protect everyone, but the rules were contentious. Some of the wives believed they were too extreme. Some of the children refused to adhere to them, and this caused huge arguments between Kody and his older children. Family gatherings were the exception, and the previously tight-knit Brown clan felt more like independent households with independent lives. Viewers who had been tuning in from the start could see where this was going. The romance that had begun with so much promise was becoming a morality tale about how difficult it is to sustain a plural marriage when all the parties' needs can't be fulfilled equally. And soon, the day would arrive when one of the wives would simply say she had had enough, triggering a domino effect that would forever alter the family's destiny. It crept in gradually at first, nearly stealthily, then abruptly it became impossible to conceal. Christine was through. For years she had been the glue of the Brown family, the wife who kept the tradition alive, cooked the meals, and attempted to keep everyone happy. But behind the smile, she'd been invisibly struggling. Her relationship with Kody wasn't just strained, it was disintegrating. In front of the cameras, Christine courageously spoke about the most hurtful aspect of her relationship. There was no longer any intimacy. Kody had informed her that he no longer desired a physical relationship with her. That was the final point of breakdown for Christine. Marriage, she explained, was not merely about having children and dividing chores. It was about love, partnership, and togetherness. And if all that was lost, then what was she keeping herself in the relationship for? Viewers saw Christine's smile disappear, and her tears flow more often. In one dramatic moment, she took Kody's belongings and removed them from her bedroom. It was symbolic, a gesture that declared to the world that she had decided. By November 2021, she made it official, declaring she was leaving Kody and ending her spiritual marriage after sharing 25 years together. The news came as a shock to the family. Kody owned up to being furious, offended, and even somewhat surprised. He said he felt betrayed, that Christine had abandoned their covenant marriage. Robin wept, telling her that she never wanted the family to break apart. Janelle, who had always been Christine's closest friend in the family, stood by her and defended her decision. Though it would never be the same for the family again. It wasn't easy for Christine to leave, but she knew she had to. She left her belongings behind and relocated to Utah with her youngest daughter, Truly. This was more than a relocation. It was an emotional overhaul. A fresh start for a new part of her life. Sister Wives fans overwhelmed the internet with support messages. They said many had been waiting for Christine to find the courage to make herself a priority. Others confessed to being devastated to see the family break down, but knowing why she needed to leave. Christine immediately became an empowerment icon, illustrating to millions of viewers that it's never too late to decide to be happy. And her makeover was amazing. After she departed, Christine looked lighter, more upbeat, and self-assured than ever. She shared cheerful photos on Instagram, uploaded cooking tutorials with her children, and even started dating again. She finally met David Woolley and ended up marrying him in 2023, something that fans rejoiced as the happy ending that Christine genuinely deserved. But Christine's exit wasn't only a personal triumph, it was a chain reaction that would echo throughout the entire Brown family. Janelle, who was quietly struggling in her own marriage to Kody, had begun to view Christine's exit as a wake-up call. If Christine could leave and be happy, then perhaps she could as well. Kody, on the other hand, was unraveling. He'd always been cocky, even arrogant at times about his capacity to handle 4 marriages and keep all the women pleased. But the loss of Christine shook him to his very foundations. He acknowledged in interviews that he felt helpless and embarrassed, that the family he'd worked so hard to construct was falling through his hands. And then there was Robin, who found herself in an awkward place all of a sudden. She had always dreamed of a large, close-knit family, but now she was the sole wife remaining who was devoted to Kody. No longer would she have a joyful plural marriage, but a monogamous relationship, something she never desired. Her sisterhood dream was shattered. The family's previously solid ground was legally broken, and things would never be the same. What was initially one wife's choice to depart would eventually result in further heartache, as both Janelle and Meri would soon encounter their own crossroads. The Browns were on the verge of the most explosive, emotional time of their lives, and viewers were stuck on every second of it. Chris departed and the Brown family plunged into a whirlwind they couldn't get out of. It wasn't just about one wife choosing to leave anymore, now it was about trust, fidelity, and whether this family could even exist as a plural marriage. Janelle had always been the level one, the wife who remained steady and solution-minded. She was practical, intelligent, and fiercely independent, and for years she had been the one who reminded everyone that this family was worth fighting for. But now, even Janelle's patience was wearing thin. The tension really came out during the COVID-19 pandemic. Kody imposed a strict set of rules that he required all wives and children to abide by, sanitizing groceries, restricting outside contact, even staying away from social events. To Kody, it was a matter of safety, of keeping the whole family safe. But to Janelle and her older children, it came across as controlling and unrealistic. Her two eldest sons, Garrison and Gabriel, complained loudly. They missed seeing friends, living their lives, and not being under their father's rule. When they rebelled, Kody threatened them with an ultimatum: obey the rules or avoid him. The outcome? The boys hardly saw their father anymore, and the close bond between Kody and his sons disintegrated. This was devastating to Janelle. She loved Kody, but she loved her boys with a fierceness, and she could not envision a life in which they were excluded from the family. Each fight between Kody and the boys placed her squarely in the middle, torn between her children and her husband. She attempted to referee, to find a middle ground, but it became evident that Kody would not compromise. Then there was the moment that shook things up. In a fiery argument caught on camera, Janelle and Kody went toe-to-toe in one of Sister Wives' most explosive moments. Kody accused Janelle of taking her kid's side over supporting him. Janelle had suppressed her feelings for years, but finally unleashed them. "You're not even acting like a husband anymore," she shouted through tears. "You're acting like a dictator, not a partner." For the fans, this was a momentous one. Janelle, who had been so consistent, was now vocally speaking against Kody's leadership. She confessed that she felt like she did not have a marriage anymore. She didn't feel loved, she didn't feel put first, and she didn't want to continue living in a relationship that sucked the spirit out of her. By the close of 2022, Janelle and Kody were formally divorced. It wasn't quite as sensational as Christine's departure, no moving vans, no public statements. But the emotional cost was equally burdensome. For years, Janelle had espoused the dream of plural marriage, but now she was strong enough to stand alone. Janelle's decision further widened the rift between Kody and his children. His relationship with Garrison and Gabriel became so bad that they hardly spoke. Gabriel, at one point, openly wept on camera, as he explained, forgetting the precise date his father ceased calling him during the pandemic. Fans were appalled. Twitter and other social media outlets exploded in defense of Janelle and her children, blasting Kody for playing favorites and shirking his duties as a father. The vision of Kody as doting, caring patriarch of the early years was shattered. In his place, viewers glimpsed a guy who was growing more angry, defensive, and obsessed almost entirely with Robyn and her kids. Robyn, for her own part, wrestled with the consequences. She reported again and again that she desired peace, that she wanted everyone to get back together, but she also acknowledged that she did not know how to make it better. She tearfully wept on camera, fearing that she and her children would be held responsible for the disintegration of the family. At the same time, Janelle started flourishing outside of her marriage. As with Christine, she discovered new freedom. She concentrated on her health, her enterprise, and her relationship with her children. She shared joyful photos with them on social media, going out traveling, laughing, and making new memories. Fans could not help but notice that Janelle looked lighter, almost radiant, now that the perpetual stress of her marriage was no more. But to Kody, this was the turning point. First Christine, then Janelle, two of his wives had abandoned him, and Meri was holding on by a thread. He had one marriage left that still felt intact, Robyn's. Instead of a large plural family, Kody now found himself living a life he had never wanted. A life with just one wife, a life that looked a lot more like traditional monogamy than the plural marriage he had always preached about. Kody confessed that he was angry with Christine for leaving, angry with Janelle for not standing up for him, and angry with the children for not obeying him. He felt as if the whole family had turned against him, and he was left alone. But not everyone viewed it that way. To them, it wasn't about bullying Kody, it was about taking a stand. For years, the wives had attempted to keep plural marriage functional, putting aside their own needs for the sake of harmony. Now they were standing up for themselves, and that change was something that Kody wasn't prepared to do. The summer that ensued was one of the most dramatic in Sister Wives history. Every meeting was more charged, every family gathering more strained. The kids confronted Kody with his absence. The wives confronted him with his favoritism. And amidst all this, Robyn stuck by his side, tearfully defending him while also begging the family to not continue to disintegrate. But the reality could not be denied. The plural marriage that had once stunned and amazed the world was now almost extinct. The dream was shattered, and every member of the family was left to decide what their future would be without the togetherness they once enjoyed. And for the viewers, this was compelling television. They had been following the Browns for more than a decade, had hung on their every word, and now they were seeing it pay the most agonizing dividend of all. It wasn't all about the polygamy any longer. It was about heartbreak, betrayal, and what occurs when a family goes in separate directions. At the close of this chapter, Janelle had accepted complete independence. She wasn't leaping into a new romance or seeking a replacement for marriage. Instead, she worked on creating a life suitable for her, on her own terms. For readers, it was inspiring to see. But for Kody, the loss was deep. His original vision of constructing houses on Coyote Pass and keeping his wives under one piece of land now appeared to be a dream long forgotten. He was left with rage, sorrow, and defeat that he could no longer keep to himself. And so, the Brown family was at a crossroads. Now that Christine and Janelle had left, and Meri halfway out the door, everyone wanted to know the same thing. Could Kody and Robyn manage to keep it together with what was left? Or was this the end of the Browns? Meri Brown had always been present since the beginning. The first wife, the root of the family, the one who assisted Kody in constructing this vision from scratch. For years, she was the steady strength behind the curtains, loyal as a lion to Kody and dedicated to the cause of spousal pluralism. But the more time went on, the more her place in the family had changed, and the gap between her and Kody expanded further and further. When Kody legally divorced Meri in 2014 so that he could marry Robyn and adopt Robyn's children, it was something Meri consented to. But there was a price she hadn't expected to pay. Meri Brown had always been there since the very beginning. The first wife, the foundation of the family, the woman who helped Kody build this dream from the ground up. For years, she had been the quiet strength behind the scenes, fiercely loyal to Kody and committed to the principle of plural marriage. But as time went on, her role in the family began to change, and the distance between her and Kody grew wider and wider. When Kody divorced Meri legally in 2014, so that he could marry Robyn and adopt Robyn's children, it was a decision Meri agreed to, but it came with a cost she hadn't anticipated. She said she did it for the good of the family, so that Robyn's kids could have the legal protection and security they needed. But deep inside, it left her feeling like she had lost her position as Kody's number one. The legal divorce may have just been a piece of paper, but emotionally it cut deep. Over the next several years, Meri's relationship with Kody became strained, and viewers could feel the tension every time they were in a scene together. While the other wives often joked or smiled around Kody, Meri's face told a different story, one of hurt, longing, and quiet frustration. She wanted to rebuild their relationship, but Kody seemed hesitant, sometimes even cold. Then came the infamous catfishing scandal, when Meri, feeling lonely and disconnected, formed an emotional connection online with someone she believed to be a man, but who turned out to be a woman posing as someone else. The scandal shook the family and left Kody devastated. Though Meri apologized and tried to rebuild trust, Kody admitted that he never fully got past the betrayal. He stopped being affectionate toward her, and over time he began to say openly that he no longer considered himself married to Meri in any real way. For Meri, this was a heartbreaking reality. She didn't want to leave the family she had spent her entire adult life helping to build. She didn't want to give up on Kody even when it was clear that the marriage had become a shadow of what it once was. For years she stayed, waiting for a sign, waiting for Kody to change his mind, but the sign never came. After Christine left, Meri hoped maybe the shift would bring her and Kody closer, that they could rebuild something just between the two of them. But instead she watched as Kody grew more attached to Robyn, spending almost all of his time with her and her children. The distance between Kody and Meri grew into an almost permanent wall. By late 2022, Meri had reached her breaking point. On camera she spoke about how lonely she felt, how she had tried everything: therapy, communication, patience, but nothing seemed to work. Then came the conversation that would end it all. A quiet, emotional exchange between her and Kody where he admitted that he didn't see a future with her as his wife anymore. For Meri, the words were painful, but also freeing. She said she finally understood that she couldn't hold on to something that no longer existed. She had been living in limbo, hoping that Kody would one day wake up and choose her again. Now she realized it was time to choose herself. In early 2023, Meri publicly confirmed that her spiritual marriage to Kody was over. It was the end of a chapter that had lasted more than 3 decades. She wasn't just walking away from Kody. She was stepping away from the entire dream they had built together. The announcement was emotional for fans, many of whom had watched Meri suffer quietly for years. Social media lit up with support, cheering her for finally finding the courage to move on. Some viewers even said they cried watching the scene where Meri, holding back tears, said she was ready to start over and discover who she really was outside of being Kody's first wife. Like Christine and Janelle before her, Meri began to focus on herself. She poured her energy into running her bed and breakfast, Lizzie's Heritage Inn in Utah. She began traveling, posting photos from new adventures, smiling in a way fans hadn't seen in years. She worked on self-growth, healing, and learning how to enjoy life without waiting for someone else to validate her. But despite the pain, Meri made it clear that she still valued her place in the larger Brown family. She didn't cut ties with the children. She still loved them and wanted to be part of their lives. What she was leaving behind wasn't the family, but a marriage that had long stopped being a marriage. For Kody, Meri's departure was the final nail in the coffin. His dream of plural marriage, of having 4 wives, 18 children, and one giant united household, was officially over. He was now left with only one wife, Robin, and the weight of everything that had happened over the last few years. Kody admitted on camera that he felt like a failure. He had once been so proud of showing the world how a plural marriage could work, but now he said he felt broken and bitter. He blamed Christine for starting the unraveling, saying that when she left it was like a domino effect that took down everything he had worked so hard to build. Robin too was devastated. She cried openly, saying that she felt robbed of the family she always wanted. For her, plural marriage wasn't just about sharing a husband, it was about having sister wives to share life with, to raise kids together with. Now, she said, she felt like she had lost not just sister wives but her best friends. The final scenes of that season showed a family that looked completely different from the one viewers had met back in 2010. Where there had once been laughter, group dinners, and shared celebrations, now there were separate holidays, separate lives, and long stretches of silence between many of them. But for Meri, as heartbreaking as it was to close that chapter, it was also the start of something new. She began to talk about finding joy again, about embracing independence, and about writing the next part of her story on her own terms. Fans rallied behind her, inspired by her strength and resilience. With Christine and Janelle gone, and now Meri stepping away too, the Brown family as the world had known it was gone. The dream of 4 wives living in harmony was over. And yet there was something strangely hopeful about this ending, because each woman was finally free to build a life that made her happy. For viewers, this was the emotional climax of more than a decade of storytelling. They had laughed with the Browns, cried with them, and now they were witnessing the end of an era. What remained was Kody and Robin, left to pick up the pieces and figure out what their future would look like as a monogamous couple in a world that had only ever known them as polygamists. When the dust settled and the cameras stopped rolling for a moment, the silence in the Brown household was deafening. The laughter of 18 kids, the chatter of 4 wives sharing a kitchen, the chaos of birthdays and family dinners, it was all gone. What was left was Kody, Robin, and their 5 children sitting in a house that suddenly felt too big, too quiet, and too heavy with memories of what used to be. Kody had always been the man in charge, the head of a family so large that most people couldn't even imagine what it was like. But now, for the first time in his life, he was just a husband to one woman. And it wasn't the life he had ever planned for. He said in interviews that he felt like he was grieving, not just for Christine, Janelle, and Meri, but for the version of himself that used to exist. The man who loved being the center of a big, bustling family now felt isolated. "I don't recognize my life anymore," he admitted. "Everything I worked for is gone." Robin, too, was struggling. When she joined the Brown family back in 2010, she was overjoyed to be part of something so unique. She said she had always dreamed of plural marriage, not because she wanted to collect wives, but because she wanted sisterhood. She loved the idea of women working together, raising kids together, and building something bigger than themselves. Now Robin felt like that dream had been stolen from her. In one emotional moment, she admitted through tears that she never wanted to be Kody's only wife. She said she had always been willing to share her husband, and now instead of a plural family, she was living in a traditional monogamous marriage, something she had never wanted. And Kody? He was angry at Christine for leaving, at Janelle for not taking his side, at Meri for waiting so long to make a choice. He said he felt betrayed, abandoned, like all the sacrifices he had made for years meant nothing. He talked about how he used to feel powerful, capable, proud of leading his family, but now he felt like a man whose family had rejected him. The weight of that anger began to affect his relationship with Robin. She wanted to heal, to bring peace, to find a way forward, but Kody was still in battle mode. He wanted to defend himself, to explain to anyone who would listen that he wasn't the bad guy, that he had done everything he could to hold the family together. Robin, meanwhile, was trying to get him to focus on the family they still had, her 5 children, who were still looking to their dad for love and leadership. She reminded him that just because Christine and Janelle were gone, didn't mean he had no one left. But Kody couldn't shake the grief. The holidays were the hardest. For years, Christmas meant one giant gathering, kids everywhere, presents piled to the ceiling, food covering every surface. Now they were celebrating alone. Robin decorated the tree with her kids, trying to make it special, but she admitted that she missed the noise, the traditions, the feeling of togetherness that had defined their holidays for so long. Kody said it felt like he was living a life he didn't choose. He had spent decades teaching his kids that plural marriage was beautiful, that it was the way God intended families to be. Now 3 of his 4 marriages had ended. What did that say about everything he had preached? About everything he had believed? And yet, even in the middle of the pain, something surprising began to happen. Without the chaos of a plural household, Kody and Robin started to have more time for each other. Their relationship deepened. For the first time, Robin had Kody's full attention, not just an occasional night or weekend. They began to talk more about their kids' futures, about their dreams, about how to rebuild from the ashes of what had been lost. Kody said he was beginning to understand what a true one-on-one partnership looked like, something he hadn't experienced in over 30 years of plural marriage. For Robin, this was bittersweet. She loved Kody deeply, but she admitted that being the only wife sometimes felt lonely. She missed having sister wives to share life with, to talk to help carry the load. "It's just me now," she said quietly. "And some days that feels like too much." But Robin was also determined to make the best of it. She encouraged Kody to rebuild his relationships with his children, even the ones who were angry with him. She said that just because the marriages had ended, didn't mean the family had to stay broken forever. Little by little, Kody began to take steps toward repairing those relationships. He called Gabriel and Garrison, though it took time before they were ready to pick up the phone. He visited Janelle and Christine's kids when he could, trying to show that he still loved them, even if things with their mothers had fallen apart. The process was slow, and not always smooth. Some kids were ready to forgive, others were still hurt and hesitant. But for Kody, even small steps forward felt like a victory. Fans watching at home had mixed feelings. Some felt sympathy for Kody and Robin, saying they could see the pain they were going through. Others said it was hard to feel bad for Kody when they believed he had caused much of the family's downfall with his choices and favoritism. But no matter which side viewers were on, they couldn't look away. The Browns were no longer just a family. They were a story about love, loss, and what happens when a dream falls apart. And as Kody and Robin faced the future, one thing was clear: they were going to have to redefine everything. Their marriage, their family, even their faith in plural marriage. The dream that had once brought them together had ended, but perhaps in the quiet after the storm, they could build something new. As Robin put it in one of the final scenes of the season, "It feels like we're starting over. Just me, Kody, and the kids. And maybe that's okay." Her words were full of hope, but also of heartbreak. Because while Kody and Robin were finding a way forward, the shadow of the past was never far away. The memory of what once was 4 wives, 18 children, one family united, still lingered like a ghost in every corner of their lives. And for viewers, this was what kept them watching. The Browns' story wasn't over. It was simply changing. What would come next? Could Kody and Robin truly be happy in a monogamous marriage? Would Kody ever fully repair his relationships with his older children? Could the family ever be united again, even just for holidays or weddings? The answers were still uncertain. But one thing was sure: the Browns' journey had entered a new era, one that was just as emotional and dramatic as the one that came before. For years, the Brown children had been the heart of the show. Viewers had watched them grow from toddlers into teenagers, then into independent adults starting families of their own. They were funny, outspoken, and honest, often saying what the wives wouldn't say out loud. But now, after Christine's departure, Janelle's separation, and Meri's quiet exit, the children were left to process the fallout in their own ways. And for many of them, it wasn't easy. The first wave of emotions came from Christine's kids. When Christine announced she was leaving Kody and moving to Utah, her older children, like Aspen and Michael T, said they understood why she was doing it. They had seen their mom cry for years, trying to make the marriage work. They supported her decision, even cheering her on publicly. But it was Christine's youngest daughter, Truly, who faced the hardest adjustment. In one of the most emotional moments in the series, Christine had to sit Truly down and explain that they were leaving Flagstaff. Leaving Kody, Truly's face crumpled as she tried to understand why. She asked if her dad would still visit her, if things would ever go back to the way they were. It was heartbreaking television, and fans flooded social media with love for Truly, saying she was far too young to have to deal with such adult heartbreak. As Christine settled into her new life in Utah, she focused on helping her children heal. She made sure Truly stayed connected with her siblings and encouraged Kody to be part of her life. But as time passed, viewers noticed that Kody rarely mentioned visiting his youngest daughter. Christine admitted that while she hoped for a good co-parenting relationship, she sometimes felt like she was doing it all on her own. Then came Janelle's kids, who were arguably the most vocal about the family drama. Garrison and Gabriel had long been fan favorites, known for their humor and their strong bond with their mom. But when Kody's COVID rules drove a wedge between them, the relationship between father and sons nearly collapsed. Gabriel broke viewers' hearts when he cried on camera, saying that on his birthday, his father called him, not to wish him a happy birthday, but to discuss COVID protocols. Gabriel said he hung up the phone, and then realized it was the last time his dad had reached out to him. "He forgot my birthday," Gabriel said through tears. "And then he never called me again." That raw moment captured exactly what many of the children were feeling: forgotten, replaced, left behind. Savannah, Janelle's youngest daughter, was quieter, but her pain was just as deep. She said that after months of not seeing her dad, she had started to feel like she didn't even have a father anymore. When Kody missed her high school graduation party, it became a turning point. Janelle admitted that she had to watch her daughter cry that night, and it solidified for her that staying married to Kody was hurting their children more than it was helping them. Even some of the older children, who had moved out and started their own families, spoke up. Logan, the oldest Brown child, said that while he didn't like to get involved in his parents' drama, he had noticed how the tension was affecting everyone. Maddie, who lives in North Carolina, with her husband Caleb, said she loved her dad, but was tired of the favoritism and the chaos. And then there was Peden, Christine's only son, who took to social media several times to share his candid thoughts. He openly criticized Kody, saying that his father had failed to maintain a real relationship with many of his kids. Some fans praised Peden for speaking the truth, while others said he was adding fuel to the fire. Through it all, the kids supported one another. The bond between Christine's and Janelle's kids seemed to grow even stronger. They spent holidays together, went on trips together, and posted joyful photos online, proving that even if their parents' marriages were over, their sibling bond would never break. Robin's children, meanwhile, found themselves in a complicated position. They loved their siblings, but they were still living full-time with Kody and seeing him every day. Brianna and Aurora admitted that they missed the way the family used to be. Dayton, Robin's son from her first marriage, said that he had tried to stay neutral, but found it hard to watch the family break apart piece by piece. Robin often said she wanted her children to stay close to their siblings, even if things were strained with their moms. But the reality was that the family was no longer functioning as a single unit. There were separate Christmases, separate birthdays, and separate traditions now. For the kids, this new reality was bittersweet. On one hand, they were growing into independent adults with lives of their own. On the other, they had to accept that the big united family they grew up with no longer existed. Fans watching at home felt protective of the kids. Many said that the show had started as a story about Kody and his wives, but over time the real heart of Sister Wives had become the children. They were the ones living with the consequences of every decision their parents made, the ones who had to deal with the fallout long after the cameras stopped rolling. And yet there was hope. Christine's wedding to David Woolley in 2023 became a beautiful moment of reunion. Many of her children attended, along with Janelle and several of her kids. The photos showed smiling faces, laughter, and a sense of joy that fans said they hadn't seen in years. It was proof that even though the family had fractured, there was still love. Janelle, too, has been seen spending time with her children, traveling to visit Maddie and her grandkids, going on camping trips, and celebrating milestones together. She said in interviews that she feels closer to her kids now than ever before, and that leaving Kody allowed her to pour her energy into those relationships fully. Even Meri has stayed connected with some of the kids, especially Leon, her only child, who has been vocal about their support for their mom's independence. The children may not have chosen this new version of their family, but they are learning to thrive in it. And for many viewers, that's what makes the Browns story so relatable. Because it's not just about plural marriage anymore, it's about growing up, finding your own path, and realizing that sometimes family doesn't look the way you thought it would, but it's still family. If there's one thing fans love, it's a good comeback story. And that's exactly what Christine, Janelle, and Meri delivered after leaving Kody. What began as heartbreak slowly turned into something beautiful, 3 strong women discovering who they truly were outside of being Kody's wives. Christine was the first to make her leap, and her transformation was almost immediate. After moving back to Utah, she began sharing more of her life on social media. Fans noticed that her smile was brighter, her energy lighter. She started doing cooking segments from her kitchen, laughing with her kids, and showing viewers a side of herself that felt freer and more confident. But Christine didn't just stop at personal happiness, she found love again. In early 2023, she went public with her relationship with David Woolley, a widower and father who quickly became part of the Brown family's extended circle. Christine gushed about how kind and attentive David was, often saying he made her feel seen and loved in a way she hadn't felt in years. Their relationship moved quickly, and fans cheered them on every step of the way. David seemed to adore Christine's children, and she embraced his as her own. By October 2023, Christine and David were married in a beautiful ceremony in Moab, Utah, surrounded by mountains, family, and friends. The photos were stunning. Christine in a gorgeous white gown, her kids beaming with happiness, and David looking completely smitten. For longtime viewers, this wedding felt like justice, a fairy tale ending for the woman who had spent years fighting to be loved in her marriage. And Christine made it clear that this wasn't just a new chapter, it was a brand new book. Janelle, meanwhile, took a slightly different path. Known as the practical, business-minded wife, Janelle used her separation as an opportunity to invest in herself. She focused on her health, joining a weight loss program and proudly sharing her progress online. She encouraged fans to join her on her journey, inspiring thousands with her honesty about the ups and downs of getting healthy. But Janelle didn't stop there. She also began spending more time with her children, traveling frequently to visit Maddie and her grandkids in North Carolina. She documented camping trips, cozy holiday celebrations, and family barbecues, giving fans a glimpse into the peaceful, happy life she was now enjoying. Janelle's relationship with Christine also became even closer. The two women traveled together, supported one another's projects, and often posted joint videos, much to the delight of fans who had always loved their bond. It became clear that while their marriages to Kody had ended, their sisterhood had survived, and maybe even gotten stronger. Meri, the last of the 3 to leave, took a quieter but equally powerful path. She poured herself into Lizzie's Heritage Inn, the bed and breakfast she runs in Utah. She renovated parts of the inn, hosted retreats for women seeking empowerment, and shared inspirational messages with her followers. Meri also began traveling more, posting photos from road trips, hikes, and business events. Fans noticed she seemed more relaxed, more adventurous, and more willing to step outside her comfort zone. She spoke about rediscovering who she was, not just as a wife or a mom, but as a woman with dreams and passions of her own. All three women became symbols of strength and independence for viewers around the world. Social media was flooded with comments from fans saying things like, "Christine gave me the courage to leave a toxic relationship," and "Janelle inspired me to put myself first for the first time in years." Even their style seemed to evolve. Christine wore bright, bold colors. Janelle embraced a fresh, natural look. Meri tried new hairstyles and posted playful selfies. Each of them seemed to be saying, "We're still here, we're thriving." But while Christine, Janelle, and Meri were glowing up, things weren't as smooth for Kody and Robyn. Without the other wives, Kody seemed more isolated than ever. Robyn admitted on camera that she felt lonely and missed the idea of sister wives. She said she had never wanted to be the only one, and now that she was, she felt like she had lost not just her co-wives but her friends. Kody, still processing his anger, admitted that he sometimes struggled to let go of the past. He said he felt like he had failed, that everything he had worked for had fallen apart. And while he and Robyn were closer than ever as a couple, there was still a heaviness in their relationship, a sadness that the family they had once dreamed of was gone. Meanwhile, fans couldn't stop comparing the lives of the ex-wives to the life Kody and Robyn were living. While the three women were posting happy, exciting updates, Kody and Robyn often appeared emotional, tearful, and stuck in the pain of what had been lost. This contrast became a talking point online. Many viewers said that Christine, Janelle, and Meri represented growth and healing, while Kody and Robyn seemed trapped in bitterness. Others defended Kody and Robyn, saying it was understandable that they were grieving and needed time to adjust to their new reality. Either way, the story was captivating. The women's independence didn't just inspire fans, it reshaped the entire narrative of sister wives. What had started as a show about polygamy had now become a story about resilience, courage, and the power of choosing happiness, even when it means walking away from something you once thought would last forever. And the best part? Their journeys were still unfolding. Christine and David were planning more adventures together. Janelle hinted at new business projects and even teased that she might try dating again when the time was right. Meri continued to host retreats and encourage other women to step into their power. Together, these three women proved that endings aren't always sad. Sometimes they're the beginning of the most exciting chapter yet. Kody Brown once dreamed of building a united, unshakable family, a family that would live, love, and grow together under one spiritual roof. But by the time Christine, Janelle, and Meri had left, that dream was in pieces. The family he had spent decades building now felt like scattered fragments, and Kody was left trying to pick them up one by one. For Kody, the aftermath was brutal. Suddenly, he was no longer the patriarch of a bustling plural family. He was a husband to one wife, Robyn, living in a house that felt too big and too quiet. The man who had once thrived in chaos now faced silence, and that silence was deafening. Robyn often spoke about how lonely it felt. She said she never wanted this outcome. When she married into the family, it was because she believed in the principle of plural marriage. She wanted sister wives. She wanted community. She wanted children running through the house. Holidays filled with laughter. Now, she said, it felt like she had been left with the ruins of a dream she never wanted to see destroyed. The emotional weight on both Kody and Robyn was heavy. Robyn cried often on camera, saying she wished she could fix things, bring everyone back together. Kody, meanwhile, was angry, not just at Christine for leaving, but at the ripple effect it caused. He said her decision had poisoned his other marriages, driving wedges where there used to be bridges. But beneath the anger was something deeper: pain. Kody admitted in a rare, vulnerable moment that he sometimes felt like a failure as a father. His relationships with several of his older kids were strained to the breaking point, especially with Gabriel and Garrison. Gabriel had made it clear that he felt forgotten by his dad. That birthday phone call, the the one where Kody called to argue about COVID rules and forgot it was his son's special day, became a symbol of everything that had gone wrong between them. Since then, their communication had been minimal. Garrison, too, kept his distance. Janelle revealed that Garrison rarely spoke to his father anymore, even though it hurt him. She said that her son wanted to have a relationship with Kody but didn't know how to move forward after so much had been said and done. These broken relationships weighed heavily on Kody. He said he wanted to reconcile with his kids, but he also admitted that he struggled to take the first step. Pride, hurt, and fear of rejection kept him from reaching out as often as he probably should have. Robin encouraged him to try anyway. She reminded him that the kids needed their dad, that even if they were angry, deep down they still loved him. Robin herself tried to maintain connections with the other kids, sending messages, reaching out for visits, and reminding them that her door was always open. Still, the tension was palpable. When it came time for holidays, the family was no longer gathering as one. Christine celebrated with her children and David in Utah. Janelle spent holidays with her kids and grandkids. Meri often traveled or spent time at her inn. Kody and Robin were left to celebrate with just their own kids. A far cry from the big bustling family gatherings viewers remembered from earlier seasons. This new reality was hard for Kody to accept. He said he felt like an outsider in his own family, like his kids had moved on without him. He wanted to fix things, but every time he tried, it seemed to stir up more conflict. Fans noticed how much Kody had changed, too. The man who was once lighthearted and joking now seemed more serious, more bitter. He admitted that he was in mourning the loss of his marriages, his dream, and his sense of identity. For decades he had been the leader of a plural family. Who was he now, without that? Robin, though still loyal to Kody, admitted that she was frustrated too. She had always wanted a plural marriage filled with love and connection. Now she was monogamous by default. And while she loved Kody, she said she felt like she had been robbed of the family experience she signed up for. The couple also faced financial pressures, with 3 wives no longer sharing expenses, and the family land at Coyote Pass still unresolved. Kody had to rethink his long-term plans. The dream of building homes for everyone on the land now seemed unrealistic. Even if he could afford it, there was no longer a family to live there. Through all of this, Kody insisted that he hadn't given up. He said he still loved his kids, still wanted to mend those broken bonds, even if it took years. He admitted he wasn't perfect, that he had made mistakes, but he hoped that time would heal some of the wounds. Robin supported him through it all. Even when fans criticized her, she said she believed that eventually the family would come back together in some way. Maybe not the way it was before, but at least enough to share birthdays, weddings, and other milestones. And there were small signs of hope. When Christine got married to David, some of the kids who hadn't seen Kody in months began reaching out to him again, sharing photos, sending text messages. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was something. Even Gabriel admitted that he still loved his dad and hoped that one day they could rebuild their relationship. Janelle said she encouraged her kids to forgive when they were ready, reminding them that holding on to anger wouldn't heal them. But she also respected their need for space. For viewers, this was one of the most emotional parts of the story. It wasn't just about marriages falling apart anymore. It was about a father trying to find his way back to his children, and a family struggling to figure out what together looked like after everything had changed. Fans flooded social media with advice for Kody, some urging him to take accountability and apologize, others saying the kids needed to meet him halfway. It became one of the most talked about debates in the Sister Wives fandom: who was responsible for fixing the family, the father, the kids, or both? What everyone agreed on, though, was that this chapter was far from over. Whether Kody would be able to mend things with his children was still an open question, and one that kept viewers coming back for more. And then there were Kody and Robin, the 2 survivors, struggling to create a life that was nothing like the fantasy they once imagined. They had endured criticism, heartbreak, and isolation, but they remained, still committed to loving one another and to clinging to whatever was left of the family. What made this tale so engrossing wasn't the drama. It was the evolution. Every member of the Brown family was forced to confront tough realities about love, loyalty, and what it is to choose happiness. Christine proved to audiences that it's alright to leave something that doesn't work for you, even though it's intimidating. Janelle taught the world that peace and contentment can follow heartbreak, and that sometimes being the bravest thing you can do is take care of yourself. Meri reminded everyone that it's never too late to start again and pursue new dreams. Even Kody's path offered lessons on pride, forgiveness, and the hard labor of mending relationships. His battles with his kids resonated with audience members who had been there, done that, or seen a family disintegrate. His hurt was authentic, and it served as a reminder to everyone that reconciliation isn't easy, but it's always worth attempting. Maybe the most wonderful aspect of the Brown tale is that the children are now leading the way into the future. They are creating new traditions, remaining close to one another in spite of the split, and demonstrating that family love doesn't necessarily have to fade when the structure does. They have started families of their own, and the audience gets to see a new generation of Browns come of age, one that may take the lessons their parents learned along with them into the future. On social media, fans have turned the Browns' journey into a source of empowerment. Thousands have said that watching Christine leave gave them courage to leave toxic relationships. Others said Janelle's independence inspired them to take control of their finances, their health, or their future. And Meri's quiet strength encouraged people to start new businesses, travel, or simply believe that they could still write a new chapter in their lives, no matter their age. Even the heartbreak was a learning opportunity. Fans got to see directly that sometimes family doesn't remain as we imagined it would. Sometimes people drift apart. Sometimes love evolves. But it doesn't have to be the end. It can be an opportunity to redefine what love and family are. Today the Browns are no longer that picture-perfect plural family they once were. But oddly enough, they might be closer to their truth than ever. Christine has a husband who loves her. Janelle has her freedom and her children around her. Meri has her business, her autonomy, and her voice. Kody and Robin, though hurt, have each other. And maybe the time they need to heal, grow, and reflect. And the children, the core of the whole tale, have one another. Their relationship has survived it all. They come together for weddings, graduations, holidays, and no particular weekends, showing that the family spirit still exists. The Browns saga keeps playing out each season, each Facebook post, each life update. But this much is true, their journey is now so much more about plural marriage than it ever was. It's about perseverance. It's about second chances. It's about finding joy after heartache and love after loss. For any viewer, the Browns are a reminder that no matter how chaotic life may be, it's never too late to begin anew. Your story isn't finished just because one chapter closed. In fact, that may be the very thing that enables you to be free to write the chapter you were always destined to live. And that's the reason why this tale is still engaging for millions. Because it's not only about one family in Flagstaff, it's about all of us. It's about the errors we commit, the love we struggle for, the dreams we abandon, and the bravery we find when we decide to carry on despite everything. So perhaps the Browns didn't end up where they imagined they would. Perhaps the illusion of one big happy plural family didn't hold. But from the heartbreak, something even more powerful emerged. Growth, healing, and a new kind of happiness. And ultimately, perhaps that is the true lesson, that family isn't necessarily about who you share a roof with. It's about who shows up, who loves you, and who you choose to walk around in this world with. No matter what. As credits roll on this installment of the Brown family drama, viewers anxiously await what's to follow. Will Kody make amends with his children? Will Janelle begin dating again? Will Christine and David continue their adventures in childbirth? Will Meri push her retreats to new heights? Whatever happens, one thing is clear. This family story is far from over. And for those who have followed their journey from the very beginning, that's exactly what keeps them watching, season after season. Because in a world where families come in all shapes and sizes, the Browns remind us of one powerful truth: love, no matter how complicated, is always worth fighting for. The Browns' tale may have drastically turned around in recent years. But one thing is certain: it ain't finished yet. In fact, most fans are convinced the most compelling installment is yet to be written. As Christine, Janelle, and Meri walked away, it wasn't the end of Kody's plural marriage dream. It was the dawn of a new day. And now, as the family is dispersed in several states, audience members are left asking, what now? It looks bright for Christine. Her union with David Woolley began a whole new chapter full of happiness and promise. The two have been having adventures, road trips, family barbecues, hiking in the Utah mountains, and fans are gobbling it up. Fans are wondering if TLC will grant Christine and David their own spin-off show. Think about it. A show all about their blended family, as they figure out life married, raising truly, and plotting their next big things. Christine has suggested that she'd be thrilled to continue sharing her story with the public, and David has been surprisingly at ease on camera. Some believe that Christine may one day write a second book, one regarding her life post-Kody, about discovering true love, and about empowering other women to take back their power. Janelle's future is equally as fascinating. She has intimated that she's concentrating on financial independence and sustaining her path to health. Fans are waiting to see whether she'll ever get her toe wet again in the dating pool. Janelle was always down to earth and practical, but fans have caught a glimpse of her softer, more carefree side since leaving Kody, and many are eager to see her find someone who loves her just as much as she deserves. There's also rumors circulating about whether or not Janelle and Christine might become business partners. The two are rarely apart these days, vacationing and celebrating holidays together, and their friendship has become one of the most popular aspects of the whole Sister Wives universe. Could they have a wellness retreat, co-author a book, launch a podcast? Fans are already fantasizing about it. Meri's path seems focused on empowerment. She continues to host retreats at Lizzie's Heritage Inn, encouraging women to heal, grow, and step into their confidence. She's also been spotted attending business conferences and motivational events. Could she eventually write a book or launch her own coaching program? Many viewers believe that Meri is just getting started. For Kody and Robyn, the question on everyone's mind is whether they will ever be able to mend fences with the rest of the family. Rumors have circulated that Kody may attempt to mend bridges with Gabriel and Garrison first, taking it slow before bringing everyone together for a special family occasion. There are hopes among some fans for a huge reconciliation episode in the future, when the whole Brown family reunites to celebrate one special occasion, a wedding, a graduation, possibly even a birth. But then there are those who question if Kody and Robyn will ever decide to take a step back from the cameras. Public life has not always been smooth sailing for them, and they have been heavily criticized in recent years. Some believe that they may prefer to keep a more quiet existence, working on their children and on their marriage. The children are another large part of what comes next. Several of the Brown children have grown up and have families of their own. Maddie raises her children in North Carolina. Aspen and Mykelti have built lives for themselves in Utah. Logan, the eldest Brown child, has been married for a few years and remains mostly out of the spotlight. As more of the children get married and become parents, fans expect to hear more about them and see into their lives. Perhaps even a spin-off show all about the next generation of Browns. They also wonder how the Coyote Pass family property will fit into the future. Will Kody ever follow through on developing the land? Will he sell? Or will it be a reminder of the dream that never really materialized? And then there are the fan speculations. Some fans think that Christine's happiness could lead to Janelle or even Meri remarrying down the line. Others believe that Kody and Robyn may opt to adopt or foster children in the future, now that their house is quieter than ever before. Some even speculate if another woman could join Kody and Robyn eventually and revive the dream of plural marriage, though Robyn has indicated she isn't searching for another sister wife. Whatever comes next, one thing is for sure: the Browns' tale continues to resonate because it's about so much more than polygamy. It's about growth, resilience, forgiveness, and the messy ties that bind families together. As the cameras continue to roll and the seasons continue to roll in, viewers will be watching, hoping for happy endings, cheering on fresh starts, and learning from the Browns as they continue to work through love, faith, and family on national television. Maybe one day we'll see all of them together again. Maybe there will be a giant family reunion, with Christine and David there, Janelle's grandkids running around, Meri bringing stories from her travels, and even Kody and Robyn smiling and laughing with everyone once more. Until then, the Browns' story is one of the most compelling journeys on TV. A testament to the fact that even when things take a sudden turn in life, it can again arrive at a point of healing, hope, and connectedness.